Hey everyone, Ms. Dempsey here. This is Lap Guide for Fuji International Speedway with the MOTUL AUTECH GTR. Let's get this started. Bring yourself to the left side of the track and brake just after you pass the 150 meter mark. You're going to be braking hard for a while, and your goal is to get the car to quickly rotate around this turn, get it pointing where you want to go, and quickly start to accelerate. Now bring yourself to the right side of the track. Look for this little orange marker in between the 150 meter mark. That's your braking point. Brake hard for a very short moment, quickly ease off of the brakes, slowly accelerate, and now go through this turn flat out until you're about to reach this little orange marker on the right. Lift off of throttle, then bring yourself to the path on the right as that's your apex. Start to accelerate. Look for the orange marker on the right once again. That is your next braking point. Brake hard for a moment, slowly ease off of the brakes, slowly apply the throttle as it's pretty easy to get some wheel spin here. Eventually you want to bring yourself to the left side of the track. Look for the big Dunlop sign as you want to brake just as you're about to go under it. You will need to brake hard for a while, and you want to take advantage of the red and white curbs. You also want to get the car pointing where you want to go as fast as you can so you can quickly accelerate. Then lift off of throttle as you make this left turn. Get the car pointing where you want to go again, and then get on the throttle once again. Then just after the grass on the left turns into turf, you want to use some of your braking power, make adjustments to the car to hit the apex, and carefully accelerate. When the curb on the left ends, this is where you want to control your braking power so you can slow down while still having the ability to turn. Make sure you nail this apex, nice and careful with the throttle as it is easy to spin out. Then for this turn, you want to start to brake a little early, and this is similar to the last turn where you want to control your braking power, get the car pointing where you want to go, and be nice and careful with your throttle input. That is pretty much it for the lap guide. We'll finish this lap and then we'll quickly talk about the strategies. For this race, fuel is a bit of an issue, so you want to make sure that you don't over rev the car at the start of the race and throughout the race itself. And other than that, you should be fine when it comes to fuel. And I just want to put that out there just because it's pretty tempting to rev the car at the start. Make sure you don't do that. But anyways, going on over to the general race information. We are doing 13 laps at Fuji International Speedway with Group 2 cars, and we only have the racing medium tires to work with. Fuel is at ×4 and tire wear is at ×5. And as the race starts, you can do what I did and do a little wiggle dance to make sure that the tires start to warm up pretty fast to give you the grip that you need. So let's go ahead and talk about the tires. So tire wear is at ×5 and you only have the racing medium tires to work with. And the tire wear rate is going to be a little bit low, and it's going to be possible to make a no stop happen, and it's actually going to be the faster strategy out of the two. The tire wear does start to kick in at laps 8 to 9, so at that point you want to start to be a little more careful about how you're driving your car, as it can start to get pretty easy to understeer your way through some of the turns on the last sector, or if you're coming out of a low speed turn, it can be really easy to have some wheel spin, which can definitely spin you out. So once again, once you're on laps 8 to 9, that is when you want to start to be a little more careful about how you're driving your car. And in the last 2 laps, that is when the car does start to get a little sketchy, so you want to make sure that you're even more careful about how you're driving your car. But as long as you don't push it too much, then the car won't start to act up on you. And in a bit, I'll show how my tires were doing and how my driving was on the last lap, since these clips that you're seeing right now are from my no stop run. Fuel is at ×4, and that's going to present a small issue. It's not a big deal. You don't have to do much to make sure that you don't run out of fuel at the very end of the race. So as I mentioned earlier in this section, do not rev the car out on the starting sequence, and then throughout the race you basically do not want to over rev the car. So In this race, I think I was shifting just before the bar on the bottom of the screen was about to fill up, or right as the bar starts to blink. Once again, just don't over-rev the car and you should be fine. And yeah, right here, I'm shifting right as the bar starts to blink, and in some cases, I shift right before the bar fills up. And on the last sector, it is possible to do a little more short shifting since you're not going to be at full throttle for too much time unless if you're on the main straight. So for example, going through these turns, it is possible to sneak a couple short shifts in to save a bit more fuel, and in the case of the tires, just try to keep the car nice and stable. So if you need to do a little short shifting, then the third sector up until the start of the main straight, it's a pretty good place to do a bit of that good old short shifting. Once again, just don't do it too much, otherwise you do risk losing pace. So we'll go ahead and skip on over to the final lap just to show how my car is doing and how the tire wear is, and it's going to be pretty noticeable. So once again, you want to be pretty careful about how you're driving your car towards the end of the race. And if you're constantly under the dirty air, so if you're constantly hanging out behind other cars, then that dirty air will contribute to the tire wear, so your tire wear could be a bit worse than what you see on my screen right now. And in this case, I had no one in front of me except for passing a couple back markers, so this is more or less the better case scenario. So once again, you just want to be nice and careful, because this part right here, especially when the tire wear is kicking in, it's pretty easy to lose control. So just take your time, don't over push the car, and the car will not try to bite your head off. So this is the no stop, and once again, this strategy is a little bit faster than the one stop, but I wouldn't completely disregard the one stop because there are situations where the one stop can come in handy. And let's actually go ahead and talk about the one stop. So with the one stop, it's going to be a little less viable because the tire wear is pretty slow, so it makes the no stop possible, and the pit loss is around 7 to 7.5 seconds, so it's going to create a little bit of difficulty in trying to get back to where you were before you pit. So second place is about 7 seconds behind me, and I'm going ahead and pitting in, only changing tires, doing no refuel. And take a look at this. So second place is going to catch up right next to me. He almost pulls a sneaky, but luckily I was able to come out of the pit stop just in time to be able to defend my position. And the pit loss here, once again, is around 7 to 7.5 seconds. And I pitted at the end of lap 6, so I could spend the last 7 laps just trying to play catch up, just trying to get to where I was before I pitted. And for those doing the one stop, your advantage of having the fresher tires will not start to kick in until laps 8 to 9, because as I mentioned earlier, that's where the zero stoppers will start to feel the tire wear, and it's going to gradually get worse for them. Meanwhile, you on the fresher medium tires will be able to take advantage of that. You'll be able to go through some turns a lot faster than they will, and they'll have a harder time trying to defend their position from you. So for you, it'll be a bit of an easier time. But once again, this strategy is a little bit slower, so it is going to be very hard to get to where you were before you pitted. So we'll skip on over to near the end of the race, and tire wear is there, but still not kicking in just yet. I can still pretty much just push the car. And in this race, I actually ended up pushing the car a little bit too much when it comes to revving out the car, so I almost ran out of fuel. And once again, just do not over rev the car and you should be fine. So when it comes to the one stop, this strategy is good for those who are not good with tire saving or just cannot drive group 2 cars with worn tires, because these cars do become a little sketchy with worn tires. So if that is not your thing, you just cannot drive a group 2 car with worn tires, then take a look at the one stop, because with the one stop, tire wear will be pretty much almost not an issue at all. But if an opportunity does present itself to where you're able to get a tire change done and still keep your position, then yeah, definitely take a look at the one stop. But this is a bit more of a situational thing, If an opportunity presents itself, go for it. If you're not good with tire wear in these kinds of cars, go for the one stop. But other than that, just do your best to go with the zero stop and don't be too harsh on the car. And let's go ahead and wrap things up with the last topic, which is basically the cars to go with. You basically only have two choices. The first one being the MOTUL AUTECH GTR, so the newer Nissan GTR. This car is just pretty darn good here at Fuji, so this is going to be the go-to car. The second car that is possible to do this race with is the newer Lexus RCF. It is a little bit slower than the MOTUL AUTECH GTR, but it is a bit more stable. So if you're looking for a bit more stability at the cost of a little bit of pace, then take a look at the RCF. So at the end of the day, this is a no-stop race, but a one-stop is possible if an opportunity presents itself, or if you're just not that good with tire saving in these kinds of cars. And just don't over rev the car too much, and you should be fine when it comes to fuel. But that is pretty much it for this guide. This guide's going on for a bit too long, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. CA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.